just so you know, before you get mad at me, I still have that tape in the safe. Okay.
Yeah, no kidding. There's got to be something.
Yeah. Listen. Okay. Listen. I sent a picture of your outfit over to the guys at H&M. Yeah. They said those shoelaces are free if you wear this tie. So, do you mind if I get some shoelaces for myself? I know you don't care about the price of shoelaces, but they said I could get 10 pairs of shoelaces for me if you wear this tie on Kimmel.
Welcome, folks, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, Fillmore, a.k.a. Jim Fix, and with me, as always, is Sam. How's Sam?
Well, most excited I've been in a long time.
Every day is like Christmas when this stuff happens. So what happened, guys? Maureen Callahan, our favorite New York Post writer, wrote another this time her best piece, in my opinion, on Wig and just how he's completely lost the plot. And normally this would not make such a well. Actually, anytime he gets negative press this good, it would make news amongst Reddit and whatever Facebook groups and stuff like that. But in this case, I think she hit the nail on the head completely. Normally, guys, the reason why we would normally take our time and cover this and then, release it when we're good and ready because we have a number of episodes in the can. I'm still actually editing them and whatnot, but and we have our Sunday, regular schedule. But this one gets special notice because, number one, it's the third article by Maureen Callahan that's almost uniformly negative. This one is absolutely negative. The first one is, close to like 75%. The rebuttal after he gets pissed off at it and talks about it on the air, which we'll play that audio for you guys, is more negative, and clearly that's the turning point for her. And she's sort of laid off him, I think, since then, because otherwise we would have seen another article. That's how prominent it ggets on Reddit, on our Facebook group. There's people looking all over for stuff for us, which we love. Thank you, QF fam. And the reason why this is such big news is because, number one, it doesn't happen on a day that he's off. Usually these hit pieces come when he's off and he has the weekend to stew about it when he's trying to star fuck.
Normally that's when it happens. And I also, if this were a journalist that did this previously in the first two, do you know how many other news articles would have picked up on a beef between a New York Post journalist and Howard having such beef in such a, public way, but nobody picked up on it except for some Reddit trolls and us.
Yeah, and I think it was Natalie Pinaro Stack who actually got the lead on. She got the lead on the Facebook page, and you can join us, guys. Quite frankly, a podcast about Howard Stern. We got a Facebook group as well as a YouTube channel, etc. And she was adamant. She was messaging. She's like, "Guys, has anyone seen this?" Because she actually got the physical copy of the post and was posting pictures of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it was a front page story, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, really. I'm so proud.
We've created an army of monsters.
I was like, my daughter's making her first communion this year, and I was like, what pictures am I going to like more? I'm just kidding.
Okay, so guys, we're going to go chronologically through this, and the reason, it's not like we're beholden to the Post or anything, but it's one of the three big New York newspapers that the circulation is still excellent. And in terms of coverage, I think the fact that it's so negative and so well written, that because she's a proper journalist. The
Post has kind of been going flying in the face of mainstream media, liberal media. They have kind of done their own thing. They got banned during the election series on Twitter. They got reinstated. Miranda Devine, who's the editor, has been going on lots of news shows. They have, done their own thing. And this goes kind of in step with, what they've been doing, which is nice. I mean, in the sense of it's different.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are covering it. And it's controversial in the sense nobody's saying this and everyone thinks it.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it.
So, at any well, in terms of this, we're talking, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
everyone thinks he's on his last leg.
right. Like, I don't read the post, but when things like this come up, I do. I'm like,
Oh, I'm buying
I'm
10 copies.
I'm like a jackal on a gazelle. So I'm going to read the first article that came about when he was doing his book promotion for Howard Stern Comes Again with that. We should at one point do some kind of breakdown on that fucking piece of shit or the Terry Gross interview.
What is there to break down?
Oh, it's just such cringe.
Top 10 ways to fake cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Howard Stern says he's a new man, but don't believe him. Maureen Callahan, May 13th, 2019. And so here he goes. Howard Stern, now 65 and in the legacy part of his career, has a message. I've evolved, he says. To that, I ask, has anyone listened to his show lately? Much of Stern's fan base, and I count myself among them, have a complicated relationship with him and his show. When he's at his best, Stern can be blisteringly funny while riffing on a range of issues, from politics to celebrity to Game of Thrones. God. When he's told what the characters' names are. He is a fantastic interviewer. This is kind of where she loses me a little when she says this, because I don't think, again, when people say this, I can't, automatically my antenna goes up. Like, what are you talking about? What interviews are you referring to specifically?
See, this is why this latest article, she did such a beautiful job. Each paragraph was better than the next. I was like, man, you did your homework for this one.
For this one, yes, absolutely. And I think so. What I think the chronology is, kind of fan, like old like us, ex super fan or ex super fan no longer listening, basing it on interviews way back. This whole narrative of him as a good interviewer or excellent interviewer, and then not actually doing her homework and not being as well versed with more recent shows as we are.
Or maybe it's kind of how we stumbled upon our revelation of how we feel about him or a certain topic, like the MPD. We kind of have a sense something's wrong, but we didn't fully flesh it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like she sort of had that sense too.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's fully realized in this latest piece.
Right. There's an undercurrent of, I'm not so sure. And it's bloomed into this garden of fucking hatred. So anyway, it continues. Before satellite and streaming and podcasts, Stern made hours of otherwise painful commuting enjoyable. Yet this personal growth he crows of, in service of hawking his new book, by the way, is hard to believe. Sure, he's gotten rid of strippers and porn stars and butt bongo fiesta, but nearly 40 years on, Stern relies, possibly more than ever, on problematic comedic crutches, most notably a group of physically challenged and or mentally impaired adults he calls the Wack Pack. Its most prominent member and oft-recurring guest is a woman Stern used to call Wendy the retard, which in 2019 I'm still amazed that made it to print and they didn't have to censor the word, because it's such a buzzword now.
I know, it's very, very taboo.
Yeah,
I could hear the taboo buzzer in my ear for
every
the game.
Yeah, exactly. Today she is known as Wendy the slow adult. Progress. That's funny the way she wrote that. It seems like an obvious observation, but somehow Stern hasn't realized that it's not funny for anyone, let alone someone pulling down a reported $90 million a year, who socializes with Jerry Seinfeld and Paul McCartney. Well, he doesn't socialize with Paul McCartney. There's another one where she's kind of, yeah, we'll give her a pass. She doesn't know.
Yeah.
At that point, she didn't know. And is on a first-name basis with the President of the United States, to be routinely making fun of society's most vulnerable. These are sad people. So again, she wasn't on a first-name basis with Donald. He wasn't tight with Donald during the presidency. Donald kicked him to the curb.
Right, but she isn't wrong. They did have pictures at basketball games. They did hang out socially.
Yeah, I think at some point she became peripheral fan again. Like, she wasn't a super fan, and she just wasn't. There were years where she was just a huge gap of knowledge. I think that's got to be what it is.
I don't know if it's a huge gap or if it's just. I don't know if it's a huge gap or if it's just she probably during these years she wasn't as because it's so bad.
Well, then she should know all this crap. I think it was just a sporadic, like she turned it on every now and then, but it wasn't must listen to radio anymore for her. So that's the only way I could explain it. So she continues, why does Stern still do it? Is it laziness, habit, outright contempt? And Stern, so sensitive about his own physical shortcomings, has never stopped subjecting his staff to on-air shaming over everything from the size of their teeth to their weight to their diets or their finances or the states of their marriages, while his own second marriage to a model 20 years his junior is always off limits for Stern. His longtime producer, Gary Delabate, is known to most fans as horse-toothed jackass. Ritual humiliation is part of the job description on the Howard Stern show. Most troubling is Stern's decades-long treatment of Robin Quivers. As his so-called sidekick, Quivers has been the show's ostensible voice of reason and its lone female voice. I fucking hate when people call her the voice of reason.
What reason did it? Maureen, if you can, listen to our 15 Foundation saga and tell us anything that's reasonable about somebody that goes on a fact-finding trip and finds that she has designer sandals in a hotel lobby and goes home.
God, you guys will love the latest episode, by the way. Quick plug. Stern calls her his rock. Her daily news segment is a fan favorite. Again, guys, this is ancient history now. Yet Stern, who has vilified such Me Too monsters as Harvey Weinstein and Les Moonves, almost always introduces Quivers' segment with crude songs sung by fans about her breast size or their masturbatory fantasies about her or the graphic ways they like to sexually degrade her. This is a woman who survived childhood molestation by her father. Again, guys, you know our stance on that. It began when she was 11 years old. She has written about it and spoken of it on the show. Quivers has called it a nuclear explosion in my life, yet Stern still uses her childhood trauma as a punchline often. Maybe he should stop doing that. To those who'd like to believe this self-proclaimed redemption arc, take note. Last week, his show mocked Simon Cowell's man tits, speculated on the size of Michelle Obama's genitalia, and compared Nancy Pelosi's appearance to a porta potty with a yeast infection. But there's one thing you can't take away from Howard. He's always known how to tell a good story. So that caused,
has he?
yeah, and that's where I kind of, you give her points for at least pointing out some things that most people haven't.
Yes.
Yeah, in the recent press history he's had,
he's not. Most people who write about Howard have nowhere near the knowledge or detail that she does from that article.
Yes, so they have even less than she does, and they're woefully misinformed. She's at least
She's definitely informed.
Well, yeah, but just not fully. So when I email, please, Maureen, respond. You will get an interview like you've never had before.
Oh my gosh!
I reached out to her and I asked around to see if we could get a hold of her, but she has no reason to, because she's getting all the publicity she needs from the articles. So either way, this is what he responded to her. This is how he responded the following day.
Really excited to see you.
Yeah,
I think you should remember that.
Yeah, and then I bum out the some of the people in the publicity of Simon & Schuster didn't want me to do the New York Post, and I said, look, that's one of my hometown newspapers.
They didn't want you to do it.
Yeah, they were like,
you and I both know that that's complete horse shit.
Hey, do you want to know what else too? I was thinking about the New York Post. So, in this last article, by the way, they mentioned Hilaria,
yes.
And do you know what she did when Alec Baldwin was getting bad press? That fucking fake Spanish grifter went to the New York Post unannounced and started doing yoga poses on the front desk of the reception area and started writing namaste and
God.
Let's get a new relationship and doing downward dog on the fucking reception desk of the New York Post to get a new relationship.
That's attention. Why didn't she just fucking bend over and drop trowel?
She should have. She should have just stuck her own head in her vagina and said, hello.
Downward facing face palm. Holy shit. Okay, let's continue.
The New York Post, you can't exactly trust them. I said, you can trust them. They're fine. And then today, this guy Ian Moore interviewed me. He was a really nice guy. I really liked him. And I finished the interview. I said, that's good. I want to reach the people. And but they have this weird move they do. They he wrote a beautiful article, and then they have a woman. She does this with every celebrity who writes a hit piece.
Okay.
I want to reach the people.
That was the conundrum, guys. Like, I love the fact that that happened. It was even on the same spread, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
So, so they gave him a glowing review. It wasn't really glowing, actually. It was more just self-promotional than anything else. You guys can read it. We're not going to go through the review of his shit book. But she she put in the piece that I just read, and I believe it was part of the same 2-page spread. Yep.
I forgot to mention when you were reading her article, and she was talking about how he critiques how lazy and how much they eat and what they look like. He does that with his wife about what she eats, and you posted this article on our Facebook page about how abusive that is to talk about your wife's diet and critique it.
Actually, that was
like
Carol.
that?
That was Carol Cheney that posted that, and it
Oh,
needs.
Carol. Okay,
It's unfortunately gotten buried under all this stuff So I'm going to try to comment on it and bring it to the forefront. But it's a great article, actually. So thank you, Carol.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say that. So he does it with his wife too. So Maureen, good job pointing that out. He does it with his wife as well.
Yep.
Piece on you right next to the article.
What?
About what kind of a scumbag I am.
Are
Because
you kidding?
yeah, and they even say I treat
No.
you badly because we play songs before the news, and that really bummed me the fuck out. like you don't,
my
like you couldn't
gosh.
stop that
could I
anytime.
couldn't stop that if I didn't
Yeah,
want,
right,
if I
yeah.
wanted to.
No,
But then-
no, Robin, you couldn't, and you don't. You never have. You love it. If it's negative attention,
Romance.
black tits. Some of those I actually do. My favorite. Now we're going into song parodies. My favorite one is the REO Speedwagon one Richard did about Ronnie. Ronnie's a 4-foot tall old angry Jew, and he thinks that he is Italian too. I heard he goes, it's so intricate.
What's the one with Gary that I love? Frig, Artie was laughing so
Baker Street
hard.
Baba Booey or
Yes,
the
yes.
Booey. That was a Richard original, I think, too. There was that one, and then there was the Led Zeppelin. Which one is it? No, it was Led Zeppelin. I think "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You," and it's just one guy go ba 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 ba. The guy goes right into it. It's not Richard, but it's so great. Anyway, let's keep going.
Jason was telling me this is what the New York Post does. It's weird. It's like if I had a guest in here, and during the guest's appearance, someone was saying, "Hey, he's a fuckhead."
Right. Like there was some
Yeah.
other station you could tune into
Yeah, so
that was right next to it, and you would be saying nasty things about.
I mean,
them.
any,
Yes.
any promotion is good promotion, but it's kind of a bummer. Like at least wait a week before you blast.
What can't they make a
At least wait a week. Like he wouldn't respond just as bad if it was a week later. The timing was the problem. That was the problem.
Yeah, that's it.
Not the
Not
fact
the
that
content.
yeah, no, God no.
their mind? They can't just say.
No, it's like Ian Moore liked me, but that, for the Post that's not good enough. So they had to run a side piece that basically said I'm a fucknut still. Like yeah, this is all bullshit. Howard hasn't changed.
How it hasn't changed.
Yeah, and the woman's claims she listens, but the New York Post, this is their move. I didn't know that.
No.
It's like
That's new.
They did it to.
Oh man, he didn't know.
Now I'm just thinking of that Linus Photoshop. He needs to have Robin now like there Hal, there Houchie, you'll be all right.
Is this misinformation?
Did the Post write something bad about you? Oh,
Madonna.
Is this
They
a
ran a
big-
piece
is
on
this a-
Madonna,
is it
and then
still
this
more?
woman.
yeah, go ahead.
Is this a big disinformation campaign?
Exactly.
And
Now that you're saying that, I have noticed that there's always this little sidebar.
Maureen Callahan's her name. So what they do is they write something nice, and they can't stomach it because they think they have to like. Why am I talking to you if you're going to just fuck me in the ass?
Yeah.
Just fuck me in the ass. Don't interview.
I don't need to
Of
sit
course.
with you while you're.
Maureen,
Let's go
you have your
skate.
problem solved. he'll like you again.
Yeah.
Just get a dildo and drill him. It'll be all over.
Peg away, little Irish lass, peg away.
Fuck.
Like Madonna. Like they wrote an article about her, and then next to it, Maureen Callahan writes, Madonna's out of material and just rehashing her old looks. Maureen Callahan. Only a heckler can improve an evening with the money-grabbing Clintons. Gropey Uncle Joe Biden has always been creepy and should stay out of the race.
Go ahead.
All true.
Well,
one, he was gropey and inappropriate. Nobody's denying that.
No.
Two,
I like Joe actually, but I mean, some of those memes. There's a reason why they look cringeworthy, and people.
Listen, I have family members I love, and I'm like, too long. Enough.
Okay, let's keep going.
Set
Will
down
and
the
Jada
scotch.
Show marks the moment celebrity died. It's like she's the hit woman.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was just like,
and you're horrible. She writes all these awful things
but it's fine
about everyone.
Yeah. I'm horrible, but the piece next to me is this wonderful piece.
I love how he uses that. He uses that same cadence, but it's fine. It's the same exact cadence, same exact way when he responds to the Emily Stern interview with the Post.
It's perfect. You were exactly right.
And go back and listen to it, guys. It's fine, but we get along. My fucking daughters are fucking amazing.
I have a great relationship. We talk all the time. We're fine.
3 sentences in one. None of them are complete.
If you put someone said the new Avengers movie is awesome, but it's also dog shit. It's like, what? But I don't care. What am I gonna do? She's the sniper.
See it now.
But she's sniping me on the same page that I gave this guy a long interview.
But I don't understand a newspaper that does this.
Yeah, it's weird. There are weirdos over there. They're just weird. It's like, well, wait, what did I do? I spoke to your guy. He wrote a nice article.
Okay, go ahead.
This sounds like somebody that definitely doesn't care, right?
Yeah. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So let's see. 4 minutes of airtime. We don't know the adjusted contract, but we're going to say it's like $1,000, maybe at least $500 a second. I don't know.
It sounds like the same way he didn't care about his Arsenio appearance. And yeah. Right. Okay.
By the way,
and the way the Robert Plant interview went, he didn't care about that either. Mm-hmm.
By the way, guys, thank you so much for your praise on the Arsenio episode. We loved it. We loved making it, and even though it was truncated on YouTube, that's not stopping the app. So suck our dicks, Pelican.
Cry in a corner.
That's right. Fetal position.
So you've got to now have the woman on the same exact page write a piece of shit, like point counterpoint. No, Howard says he's a good guy. It's bullshit. He's a shithead. Don't read the article next to you and believe it. They're punching me in the balls while they're shaking my hand. You motherfuckers.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so I woke up to that.
Isn't it a crazy world?
It's a crazy world. On the same page. Hey, here's a story of a really good guy, but I fucking hate him. But anyway.
It's called chewing gum and walking, Howard.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was that was the extent of his whole opinion the following day. Then God love Maureen Callahan on May 15th, 2019. It's the New York Post. Howard Stern proves he really hasn't changed at all. Howard, did I strike a nerve? During the first 10 minutes of his radio show yesterday, Howard Stern, the new, improved, evolved, and mature Howard, went on a rant about me in the New York Post. My grave wrongdoing, it seems, was writing an opinion piece that questioned how much Howard has really changed. I think he proved my point. That column, as far as I can tell, is the only remotely critical coverage Stern has gotten since promoting his new book, which is already a smash bestseller. He listed the outlets on air: Good Morning America, the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Chicago Tribune, the Las Vegas Review, a two-parter with NPR's Terry Gross, Jimmy Fallon, and yes, the New York Post itself, which also ran a lovely, lengthy profile of Stern on Tuesday. And she highlighted it so you could follow it. How touchy is that a mere 500 words sent him reeling? Numerology on this show fascinates me. 79, 500, 34, 143.
A 500 words send him reeling. It's so true too, because remember the what was the one columnist, Richard?
There's a few.
The English one who he couldn't remember what he said. It was Richard.
Oh God, it's gonna come back to me. It's the one that Johnny Carson when he told him he ripped him off.
You said something bad about me, and he's like, "What'd I say?" And he goes, "I don't remember."
It'll come back to me. Lloyd Grove.
Oh yes, that's it, Lloyd Grove. I don't know why I was thinking Richard. I apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, so he got touchy over that, and he didn't even really remember.
And the truth was, it's most likely it's not something that nobody else could have come up with. But Johnny Carson said when he was asked in some video footage, you can find it online, that some charity event that he was at, they said, "What would you like your epitaph to be?" And he said something like, maybe I'll be back right after this, or something like that, and like after this commercial or something like that. And then Howard was quoted as saying the same thing in an interview. And then the guy's whole premise of the column was, "Wow, Mr. Originality is ripping off Johnny Carson," and that sent Wig into a tailspin. But not enough that he could remember what was written when he saw him in a restaurant,
which is so insane.
Yeah. And if we went through that, you guys would fucking laugh your asses off. And we may do that at one point because that's a funny little mini saga. Okay. She continues. "I don't understand a newspaper that does this," he said in classic Howard subtlety. "Why am I talking to you if you're going to fuck me in the ass? Just fuck me in the ass. Any promotion is good promotion, but it's kind of a bummer. At least wait a week." Is this really where we're at? A 65-year-old megastar who has no problem taking other celebs down a peg demands the news cycle slow down to assuage his ego.
Who does this remind me of?
Yeah, exactly. Here's what I wrote. "Why has no one asked Stern, if he has evolved so much and regrets causing so much pain, to explain why he still makes fun of mentally challenged fans, or why he still verbally abuses his own staff on air?" Stern addressed none of this. Instead, he said, "The Post is a bunch of weirdos," in brackets, which true, but, and then that I'm the, quote, "hit woman and a sniper." Howard Stern calling someone else mean. He doubted.
Oh, wow. You know what?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's so interesting. He does this too with everyone. And it's great that she points this out. He never really goes after the accusations. He does this vague, roundabouty feelings. It's all about the feelings, how she made him feel. Yes. So it's just like this vagueness of, she was mean.
Yeah,
she was a sniper.
Right. He didn't question the validity. He didn't question the validity. He didn't bring it into. He wasn't trying to bring it into disrepute. He was just.
But none of the arguments actually got put out. He never actually debated any of the validity of her argument.
They never are. And I'm trying to think. There's so many examples actually come to mind. Now they're all flooding back to me, but. Again, that one Lloyd Grove article was kind of the point. Like he knew he was enough to be pissed off, but not enough to remember what the slight was. When you're offended, when you're pissed off at someone, you know exactly why that is.
Unless you're a 79 narcissist.
Exactly. He doubted my claim that I'm a longtime fan, but it's true. Despite my problems with Stern and his show, I've always admired the way he goes after bullies and hypocrites. Back when Ted Kennedy was still alive, Stern was the only public figure to remind us constantly of Chappaquiddick. His impressions of Ted, his Boston Brahmin accent, his pomposity and drunkenness and amorality, that's the stuff of Stern's show legend. So it's a drag to see Stern on this massive victory tour selling two falsehoods. First, well, three. The third is the fake cancer. First, a new book that consists of nearly 600 pages of interviews from his show is the product of 2 years of hard, torturous work. In reality, Howard Stern Comes Again, which retails for $35 a pop, contains just 17 pages of new personal material. And if you've seen any of his interviews, you know exactly what's on those pages. The other falsehood, of course, is of this self-actualized Howard Stern, his pure id, as he told NPR, dead and buried, unless, of course, you dare criticize him.
It's so true. That's the irony of it, too, is him saying he's evolved and her criticism of his evolution and his response just proves her point.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a fucking baby.
It's incredible. So what I'm going to read, guys, we're going to read the article. I'm going to read the article. And then I'm also going to read letters to the editor that were posted by the Post. And, and that could always be skewed whatever way they want to go, like in favor of the author or not. But either way, I think you might find them interesting.
I also have to say, I really don't like when people use the word evolved for the purpose of rebranding.
Yeah. Covering
it's not
up shit.
Evolution, a personal evolution. Say if like somebody like Artie who came over a drug addiction, that's evolved if you did that in your life. Or if you lost a child, you're evolved if you came out of that a different person. If you came out of that stronger or better, or it changed your perspective on something, or if you there's different ways to evolve in life.
Yeah, but listen to every.
This isn't evolved.
Okay,
this is rebranding.
Listen to every rescinding we do. His version of contrition is never believable. That's the main takeaway. That's the main problem. When if you're going to say I'm evolved, then fucking be believable. You can't say I'm evolved and then have all this other shit on the side and treat your staff the same way you always do. And also the Wendy Williams Wendy Williams rant is the perfect sort of capsule of what he really is. That is the Howard Stern.
And you're only sorry to celebrities. You're only sorry to people who help you rebrand this evolution that you want. You don't actually evolve to the people who help get you to be what you are. So it's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's fake. It's transparently obvious you're not evolved. Thank you, Maureen.
Look, Mark Consuelos and Kelly Ripa were at his fucking wedding, and Mark Consuelos did the fucking ceremony, and they're no longer friends. He addressed it on the show, but he never actually claimed culpability, and it was clearly because, it might have been because he fucking hit on Mark Consuelos, but it was because he was bitching, he was complaining, he was talking shit about Kelly. We know that's why it is, and he's never been contrite about it. He's like, I don't know, I must have done something. That's evolved, right. So that's just one example. I've been using that more recently, and I'm sure there's a shitload more that I've just on the tip of my tongue.
You're so evolved that you care about your children so much they weren't at your wedding.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Although they might have, to be fair to Howard, they might have just told him we're not fucking coming.
That's true.
Yeah. So this is the article you've all been waiting for, guys. Howard's End. Great title. Shock Jock Stern has lost his sting and his mojo, by Maureen Callahan, April 27th, 2021. And it was put in at 6 a.m. bright and early.
Which I love.
Before his show.
Because now he starts at 7, right?
Yeah.
So that is so purposeful. I'm so proud of her.
Now, here's the only sad part of this tale, guys, because there may be a part 2 if we manage to get Maureen for an interview, which I would love. But if it doesn't happen, we're still gonna just take this thing to tear it apart.
We're huge fans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, tear it apart, meaning we're gonna take it apart bit by bit and analyze it.
Fillmore, I really hope she listens to our show. I really hope she takes us in and just realizes there's so much to mine here.
Yeah, and we've just a fraction. We've done 68. This will be, we don't count the Minisode. It's really more like 80 episodes if you really want to get technical. And over a year and, let's see, you started in February, so a year and 2 months. And we're still not even a fraction of the way through.
Yeah, if I didn't have a child and a job, we could do this every day.
just dose the kid with Benadryl and just have your interns do your work for you. So the whole gig is, we also had people online following the mockery thread. And thank you guys for covering for Raven as much as you could, because she really appreciates it. And we appreciate all you guys did during this, especially C.A. Thompson, who came through like a fucking champ. And what most people like Dennis DeMarco and Reggie Bowman and Isaac Lightfoot and so many people said that his voice sounded off, which we've been saying for the last couple breakdowns, but not off vocally, not off in a natural way, off meaning depressed, preoccupied, something like that. I haven't heard it, so unfortunately I don't have the audio to give you guys and break it down, but we'll come up with that the next time we get the clips.
A few people messaged me privately too and said it. Some of our fans, I won't, just because they're private messages and I don't know if they want me to say who they are or not, but they said that, and I listened to some of this, he seems not there. I can't really explain it except for he's just not there. It just seems absent.
He was discombobulated. Like clearly he had that post article on his mind the whole time.
It's kind of like it's like you're in class and you just broke up with your boyfriend or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like something's going on, man. Something's going on.
And as a result, there's a reason why you heard, I don't know how long it was, but Fred talk. Loads of Fred talk as filler.
That was weird.
Yes. And so you had talking about riffs. In other words, anything that was completely dateless. You didn't have to
interview Fred. I was like, what?
Because you have no interviews, all of a sudden this is what you're focusing on, because you can't make it about yourself. Because if you start talking about yourself, you're going to bring up that fucking article. He did not want to do that.
Weird, hyped up, like, what did you do on vacation?
Yeah.
Rob was her laughter was at such a high, heightened, in her chest pitch. It was so forced and jumping the gun, I should say.
Yeah.
It just seemed really agitated. Everything seemed very forced.
Well, the way they explained it was like mad scramble to cover up shit. Like basically, let's talk about anything else but the elephant in the room, or the pelican in the room, as the case may be. However, if you really cared about Fred, why wouldn't you ask about his weekend on Monday?
Right.
I mean, like this is my whole point. If you want it to seem natural, you would. That's how it would go. It's not we got nothing to talk about because we don't have guests. It's because you wanted to somehow act like everything's kosher.
You know what it reminded me of, Fillmore? It would be like if they just committed a murder and all of the listeners just walked in and they were trying to just push the body off to the side. Like they almost had the dirt all over it, but it was still like there was an arm and a boot and some fucking jacket laying around, and they were like, fuck, just push it over, and like, oh fuck, there's a hat.
Right.
Like
it was so well.
we gotta move this around. It was so bizarre.
Mom, just a second. Can I borrow this knife? We hit a deer on the way, and I got
a hoof.
What do you call it? It's paw. The hoof. The hoof. It got caught in the grill, and I got to hack it off.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a sin.
It's a
sin.
sin.
Ma, it's a sin.
You can't leave it there. And so I'm thinking to myself, it's almost as if they killed the disgraced female lead from Different Strokes and laughed about it. So let's
did happen.
So just a little what do you call it, callback. And so I'm going to read this article. Sam's eyes are dead from looking at a screen all day, and I'm just waking up, so I'm fresh as a daisy. In the caption, of course, it shows King Curl himself, and Howard Stern has gone soft after years of being the quintessential shock jock. Maureen Callahan writes, and the Howard Stern show, long in decline, is dead. That's a hell of just. You can stop there.
You know what I love about it too?
Yeah.
When you open a story, it's a paragraph, it's one sentence, and it's indented, next paragraph. That's the statement. It's powerful.
Yes. And by the way, Maureen Callahan is not a hack writer. She's written for some high profile publications, and just go check out her bio. And she has a book out as well. So we defer to her on this for sure, because not just because it's so odd for any bad press to make its way, but because they have been working overtime, the Buchwald company, to fucking put out week after week of the things. And what was the other one we fucking laughed at?
The Blast.
The Blast. That was the other one. So these bullshit, websites.
They're already working now since this came out. Beth just got an article in The Sun, which is who is Howard Stern's wife?
Dylan Parker.
It's been the same fucking. It's been the same dunce for the last 20 years. What are you talking about?
Dylan Parker is in the process of fucking up about 6 paragraphs, sentence by sentence. And dude, don't even spell check. Just please leave it all in. It's just that genius, whatever you've put. Just please put it unfiltered. Don't correct it. I want to see exactly what you write.
Why the last one was, why doesn't Howard Stern talk about any former staffers? The thing.
we were gonna do a mini-sode on that actually, and then I realized that we could. This came out and this took precedence, obviously. In March 2020, when New York City officially went into lockdown, Stern fled to his basement in the Hamptons. 1 year later, and now vaccinated, as he first admitted on air Monday, back from yet another vacation. Stern still has no intention of ever returning to his Midtown studio, his luxury Upper West Side apartment, or any semblance of pre-pandemic life. The Howard Stern who stayed on air as planes flew into the World Trade Center is unrecognizable. What she's forgetting here is that on 9/11, he was asking Tom repeatedly, "Can I go now? Can I go? Can we leave?"
This is true, but that was a great show, so I'm not going to deny that. It was I still listen to that show. It's a great time capsule. I'm not going to shit on it.
It is a time capsule, but let's not let the truth fall by the wayside.
Yeah, let's not going to pretend either that he was a complete dunce who was like, let's take a dart, throw it into any Middle Eastern country and bomb it.
Things will never get back to normal, he declared just 2 weeks ago. I do not believe the pandemic will ever be over.
Oh, that's helpful.
Exactly. For a once constant listener like me, that's key. Once constant. So how long ago? Who knows? But I'm telling you, 2019, those articles, I'm sure it was long before 2019 that she was constant.
Yeah, because this has been bad for a long time.
Big time. This, for a once constant listener like me, this is heretical, especially here in New York City, where every single neighborhood is struggling to survive. Also, Howard, this pandemic will end, even though you, a germophobic recluse, clearly wish it would not.
It's so true.
Right.
We say this all the time. You guys, Raven, and you say this in the breakdown all the time. We have said this.
Yep.
This is his greatest gift.
Yes.
Is this pandemic. I mean,
he doesn't
this
have
is
to see
our
anybody.
Worst, and this is his best.
Mm-hmm. But such sentiments have defined Stern's show and attitude this past year: pessimism, anger, and a worldview that shrinks ever inward, limited in size and scope to, quote, and capitalized, the basement, the literal and metaphorical dwelling place of this once great show. Yeah.
Pause. Isn't that so interesting that when he was getting divorced, his world ended and he was always in his basement?
Mm-hmm.
And now his world again is kind of ending, and he's once again a recluse in his basement.
But as a child, with these puppets in his basement.
Wow.
Yeah. He's always been more comfortable as a fucking basement dweller. And
but his narcissism won't allow him to be in his basement entirely.
No, not entirely. That's right, because it needs to be fed. It needs to be. It's like fuel. Stern, 67, renewed his contract with SiriusXM last December, signing for 5 years at a reported $120 million per. Which Carrie and I, by the way, did I'm going to self-promote. Carrie and I recorded a Marbles episode that's about 2.5 hours and is brilliant, guys. I'm telling you, you're really going to enjoy it. And we don't believe the 120 million bullshit at all. We know that that's some fucking bullshit leak, Buckwald Company leak, or the blast, and they just want to promote it as being that, because there's no way. That was just to placate him not making the same as Joe Rogan.
Okay, thank God. I was going to say, if you guys don't push back against this, I'm going to be pissed, because I didn't believe that for a fucking second.
Yeah, no one believed it. No one. This is incredible considering he works 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, broadcasting maybe 3 hours per day, about 112 shows per year with 253 days off. Now, as Raven pointed out, we don't know what the full number of shows will be this year, and she believes it'll be less than 112 or hours reduced in such a way that I originally said he'll cut back an hour and still make it 112 shows, but the equivalent of 84 shows or something like that, just to compensate for the loss of pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But don't you feel like she sounds snarky here in this paragraph when she's saying,
yeah,
I feel like she doesn't even believe it as she's writing it.
No, God, no. This is the whole point. Reported 120 million per. That's a salary of over 1 million per show. Once upon a time, you could argue that that would be fair compensation. After all, one could never predict what Stern would do or say, as memorialized by an analyst in Stern's 1997 biopic Private Parts. Yes, guys, you can find it in the sci-fi section. The average radio listener listens for 18 minutes. The average Howard Stern fan listens for, are you ready for this, an hour and 20 minutes. Answer most commonly given, I want to see what he'll say next. As for those who loathe Stern, the average Stern hater listens for 2.5 hours a day. Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next.
I love how she puts pictures in the article that show all his different wigs. It's so fucking purposeful and fantastic. And she purposely references things so poignantly, like amazing.
I love the post because some of the stories that they're tagging to this at the top, it's just one of the captions says, kindergarten teacher busted for cocaine during recess, cops say. Talk about blowing off work.
Oh.
Okay, let's keep going. Hi, everybody. Hi, children. Come on, get it. It's nap time. Not for teacher. Not for teacher. Today, it's all too easy to predict what Stern will say next. Don't just take my word for it. Endless Reddit threads and Facebook groups are devoted to carbon dating the show's death, parsing over its comedic breadcrumbs and wondering why Stern even bothers anymore. Now, I am not going to claim ownership of the Facebook group devoted to carbon dating the show's death, as she quotes. But there's only so many. Oh, well, I'm saying it's not. I mean, there are other ones. There's a couple ones on there that are claimed to be fan sites, but they're mostly haters, except for a few extremely delusional fuckheads that decide, what do you care? What do you like? Why are you posting if you don't care?
I've looked because of what we do. I've looked at what's out there on Facebook for this. Nobody does the dating and has a really nice timeline and respectful sort of outline and page like we do. Mm-hmm. Everyone's fighting and disrespectful. It's all over the place. It's not a consistent. I don't see her going on that.
Well, I just don't. I could see her going on Reddit. I could see her going on Reddit.
Reddit, yeah. A Facebook group. What's on Facebook? Have you seen?
Yeah, it's scattershot. It's all over the place. I mean, we're not talking fan sites, obviously. We're talking about
the hate groups.
The hate groups, but you don't know, like even to to people who join ours and like that are this one Mrs. Angie who joined our Facebook group not knowing we were a hate group or ex superfans rather. Which is same shit, but it's one is a little more explanatory than the other. And I kindly messaged her and said, look, from the outset, I don't blame you. We don't indicate that we're an ex-superfan group. We just say it's about Howard Stern, the podcast, and that's because we want to draw people in. If we said outright we think he's shit, maybe that would get more people. I have no idea, but I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be because if there's something positive that he does, we do mention that as well.
I feel like more people. I kind of feel like a support group sometimes when people are like, man, I binge listen to this and I have to admit it.
Yeah. Well,
you guys are right.
Yeah. Well, it really terrible. Is like, I can't remember.
I'm so glad I found you, but I can't believe it. Like, you get through the first couple and you're just like, fuck.
Right. You're like, it is like which is it, the red pill or the blue pill in the Matrix? I forget this reference.
I think it's the red pill. You get red pilled.
Okay. So whatever, either way, you get out of the Matrix. And we've had a couple people turn complete, like listening to it, because we don't just base it on our own opinions. It's really, listen to the clips, listen to it the way anybody should listen to it, and judge for yourself. If we didn't provide the clips, I could understand more people thinking, what a bunch of fucking crackpots. And yes, it's maybe a waste of time because I could be like doing an MA. I could be, I don't know, rock climbing or something, but we get enjoyment out of this. That's the key.
I said to Rick, I go, when Mia, when she's, in college, I go, I think I'm going to go to law school. And he goes, why don't you go to law school now? And I go, well, because I have the podcast. I was joking, but not really.
Your Honor, just a moment, please. I'm responding to Fillmore calling Stern a cocksucker. Okay, so then she also, you're right, she goes through the years. There's a K-Rock photo, black and white, dated from Ron Galella. I don't even know he's still alive, but he was a legendary paparazzi, and the wig is in full force as well. Howard Stern, seen here with Robin Quivers in 1992, used to be able to tout massive ratings success. So she's going after his ratings. The hits keep on coming.
She captioned the picture shitty.
And this is the thing. We don't know that she's responsible for the captions either. Like, she could be, but I don't know how it works. Generally, when I still do reviews, or when I still do photographic, because I take pictures and I do the writing, and I caption my own stuff. But sometimes the editor gets a little cutesy and decides, I'm going to caption it. I know better. I'm like, okay, yeah, you took the picture. You know better. What do I know? Fuck me. When
I did it for high school, I didn't get to caption pictures.
Yeah, typically someone decides that's their creative license, so they put their stamp on it. Indeed, she says, she writes down, Stern sounds like a guy who should have retired years ago, one begging to be fired, an attempt to end his own misery.
Wow.
Howard, your listeners are right there with you. Put us all out of your misery. It's brilliant. Okay, now here's where it goes. She's like just gaining steam here. Consider a typical show consisting on a daily Groundhog Day-like basis of such content as imitations of his non-Asian parents and hearing loss. What? What did you say? As enjoyable as talking to one's own hard of hearing relatives, while revisiting slights and traumas from his childhood, yet insisting that decades of 3 to 4 day a week therapy have made him less angry and more evolved.
Oh my God. Tell me she's not listening to our show.
Exactly. We usually seg into graphic sex-obsessed talks with Ronnie the limo driver, a 71-year-old Stern show mainstay who has now become its lead character, eating up airtime and surpassing Stern himself. In parentheses, hope Ronnie got a raise for all this heavy lifting, unlistenable though he may be.
Oh my fucking God. I don't believe that she doesn't hear us.
Oh, I'm certain. She must have at least in cursory listen once in a while, or it depends on the topic. Like, I understand even amongst our own fans, they're like, lately, for example, our 2 latest breakdowns, the I Am Not a Finook, they get criminally underviewed on YouTube, even though the podcast numbers are generally average for what those things usually do. I can only imagine it's because the fucking content is so awful to listen to.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Wait, scroll up a little bit. I just want to look at that picture. Okay. Oh, go up a little more of him because he's so tall. So he's holding a serious boombox with his Floby floof.
Yeah. This was at the giveaway. I can't remember where, but it was, the giveaway for the Sirius radios.
This is when he was in his Tony Soprano tracksuit days.
Yeah.
Ralph was dressing him like a Jersey hitman.
Yeah. The next caption is from the same event, and it says, Ronnie the limo driver may get more on-air time than Stern these days. If it's Monday, we may get a recap of Howard's weekend, which typically involves how many Peloton classes he took, updates on his lifelong disordered eating, current blood levels, and rants on why the 1%ers who live near him in the Hamptons post-vaccine won't wear masks all the time.
I really like the way she said lifelong disordered eating, because I feel like she framed it that way purposefully, because if you say eating disorder, you're going to get in trouble. But if you say disordered eating, you're not.
That's right.
And I think it's so true also, because he does have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And if anyone has listened to his diet, it's disgusting.
Well, the fact that he went to a doctor and the doctor told him you need to stop being a pescatarian, another don't do what you're doing. You're doing it wrong. It's like anything else. He's just stupid. He probably listened to someone and said, you have to eat this, and ate it and decided not to research anything and just go for it. The same way Robin did every time she did a yo-yo diet. David Blaine did the Master Cleanse, which, by the way, everybody was debunked well into its existence, and it's basically starving yourself. Jesus, who couldn't lose weight on that? And then she decided she's going to do it, and then like she didn't bother, or the Dr. Ronnie. And then the marbles behind the magnets behind her ears.
What was the one where like the sweat person?
Yeah.
Remember that?
The UV blanket, which they found out could kill you. Or when she flew to LA to get her blood recirculated. Meanwhile, you could get fucking clots in the plane on the way there. Okay, so it continues. If his much younger model wife Beth comes up, it's to discuss how efficiently she cleans now that the maids are gone, her eating habits and blood levels, and the hundreds of rescue cats that cycle in and out of their house.
Wow.
If the bats, sorry,
did you just? That's their marriage.
Yes.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
So if his wife Beth comes up, it's about how efficiently she cleans because there's no maid. That's so weird. That's it.
Yeah. She hit the nail on the head. If The Bachelor or The Bachelorette happens to be airing, we can count on a mind-numbing 45-minute soliloquy.
Colton, wherefore art thou?
Yeah, and then they show a picture of him in his Vincent Price garb at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction thing for what's his name, Bon Jovi, and Beth looked like
oh god, Beth looks like she was just dragged out of a gay bar at 4:30 in the morning.
Her makeup looks really odd in this picture. I'll have to put up. It
looks like she just threw up, and like she just rubbed her eyes, and it was like, "Hey."
Do you remember those? Remember those kaleidoscopes or telescopes where they'd put ink at the end of it, and when you put it up to, that was the joke thing. Like you'd put a black circle around people's eyes as a joke. That's what it looks like. That's
they would sell those gags at like Spencer's Gifts or something.
Right. Next, we'll probably take some calls from the mentally impaired characters known as the Wack Pack, or be subject to prank phone calls that Stern insists are real but are clearly fake and scripted.
Oh, you are so correct.
Now, to be fair, they would never do a live prank call on the Stern show. So, like those bits where they would call Wendy or they'd call High Pitch Eric, we knew they were always pre-recorded. So that's to me is not such a big deal. But it's the interviews now that are getting pre-recorded, and that's the really fucked thing, because he goes on and on about podcasts. What is a pre-recorded bit but a podcast?
Right. I also think too, the fact that he has 3 days, and he talks about, I'm talking to the guys. I got a lot to do. I can't do planks.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. I'm busy. I'm so busy. I can't even write this book that I had to just do a book of transcripts. I had to fake cancer for this book. So I'm going to just give you some pre-recorded, prank phone calls that I didn't do.
Yeah, and is the guys like basically all the Lucky Pierres between him and Ralph that are waiting for him and whatever? I mean, when he says the guys, that's nebulous. She continues, in lieu of picking on society's weakest, Stern will turn his rage on most any staffer in his sites. It says something that even the most picked up on loyalist, say his producer of 37 years, doesn't even bother to really fight back anymore. Well, it's because he can't, and he doesn't really. Yeah, it's true, it doesn't care, but he never could. Really, he'd always get shouted out.
He did though at some point.
Yeah, like we're talking 10 years before.
We played some clips of him pushing back on Howard's wardrobe.
Oh God, that was one of the best clips. But I mean, what she's saying is like he can't even be bothered to fight back anymore, which is true. But it's also enforced now. He's not allowed to go on the wrap-up show and say, Howard's full of shit. Although that Facebook one is pretty recent. The 2015, relatively speaking, in terms of how butthurt Howard would get if that was 2017 or 18 or 19.
I mean, it's not even that recent. We're in 2021. Yeah. That is pathetic. But also, too, why even bother fighting back? You're in the You're in the end of your career.
Yeah.
You're going to retire. Where are you going to go after this? The people I feel bad for are who are these 75 other people you hired?
Yeah. That's a good one too. Continues here. Okay, from the Buoy paragraph. Why? My guess is that Stern's rants are so expected and so often hit the same notes: personal hygiene, looks, financial status, marital troubles, professional incompetence, that even attacked staffers feel the same boredom that long ago came over their listener. What an indictment. And how could they not? Stern long ago abandoned his best attribute, going after famous hypocrites. Hilaria Baldwin, for example, pretending for years to be from Spain when really she's from Boston, and bagging a movie star would have once been Stern's show fodder for days. But Hilaria barely rates a mention. Why? Can't piss off Howard's good pal Alec in the Hamptons. Howard's in with all the cool kids, all he ever really wanted, despite claims to the contrary.
How you say, Alec, doesn't she look like Pablo Escobar's wife? Doesn't she look like a drug dealer's wife? Yeah, she does. I would say, Alec, we do yoga. I love yoga. Carmen, Rafa. And I have Michael Leonardo and Eduardo and Mary Lou and
add another impression to Sam's repertoire of Judy and Drunk Beth and God, what was the other one you did? Jesus Christ!
I feel more. I am from Mallorca.
Oh,
Mallorca.
Tara Reid. Tara Reid is the one I forgot. How much would I love? How much would I love? And SNL, if you're listening, by the way, why don't you make a sketch of Hilaria Baldwin talking in the faux Spanish accent, and suddenly like getting a call waiting, and then switching the call, then switching to a Southie accent.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Alec, make sure you're not eating any bread. This bad for you. Rafa, Carmen. Okay, hold on. Yeah. Can you just like listen? I really want a Balmain bag right now. A Balmain bag right now. What? No, I'm not going to wait for that. A Balmain bag. Did you fucking hear what I said?
When he's filming another unwatchable movie. Who's the hypocrite now? Callahan continues. Instead, we get musings on how wonderful Stern's BFF Jimmy Kimmel is, and what it's like to go to parties at Jimmy's house in L.A. and hobnob with George Clooney, Howard the Everyman, the commuter's best friend, rest in peace, or his days as a judge, on America's Got Talent. This thin, tepid gruel is finished off with what it was like for Howard the Renegade to break into radio, deep dive instructions on how to queue up songs on vinyl, and general get off my lawn gripes about life in America circa now. I just don't know what you could do to get noticed on this YouTube. Just cancel sports. Who cares? So fucking dumb. Podcasts, they're bores. They're fucking bores. And then there's a caption from him from America's Got Talent, another one of those Adam's Apple prominent, like Adam's Apple first photos. And it says, the caption reads, Howard still spends time musing of his time on America's Got Talent.
Howard's Adam's Apple looks like somebody who's pickpocketing.
It looks like he ate a drumstick, bone included, and wasn't fazed in the slightest. Like just continued on life, like with this thing poking out.
Cartoon.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Cartoon level swallowing.
Yeah, exactly. Perhaps that last sentiment is related to Stern's waning influence. Upon the announcement of Stern's imminent contract renewal in 2020, B. Riley analyst Zach Silver wrote to clients in part, is Howard Stern really worth $100 million plus a year? Our recent survey work suggests that only a low single-digit percentage of respondents subscribe to SiriusXM solely because of Howard Stern. Silver suggested that the re-up most benefited the company's stock price. For investors, he wrote, we believe that a potential renewal with Stern serves as a proof point that SiriusXM can continue to retain and attract top talent to its service.
So we talked about that. I remember we posted that on our Facebook page. So Silver suggested that the re-up most benefited the company's stock price for investors. This is interesting. And I remember we posted this on, I feel like that re-signing is it's a bubble. It's a fake inflation.
Right.
So it's hype.
Mhm.
It's a hype. It's
Mhm.
not real numbers. So if you want to think of an internet bubble or some sort of hype
Yeah.
on, I don't know, a cryptocurrency, let's say, it's not really. I don't want to. It's like it's not really going to lead to anything.
Well,
I'm
no.
not going to even say crypto. We're
Okay.
going to say it's like for investors. There's no real hype. It's fake hype.
Okay, so
It's
here I'll give a sporting analogy. Fernando Torres, and I know this is going to be like over your head because it's not, it's a European football. Fernando Torres got sold to Chelsea FC from Liverpool for $50 million, 50 million euros, I believe, or 50 million pounds. I can't remember, but it was a shitload of money. But this is after his legs were shot. Like he'd had
okay.
18 months of injuries and like recurring injuries, and he just wasn't the guy he was anymore. And he lost his pace, he lost his, confidence, and he went to Chelsea and Liverpool. Well, years after the fact, the players that were on the team with him said, like, go. Like, basically, they knew that he was shot, like he was done. But for some reason, this happened, and you put that 50 million figure on him, and all of a sudden, people think, wow, okay, now we're going next level. But if you're not a fan of that team and you're not watching him, how do you know that he's worth the
Right.
50?
That's why, like, for example, Joe Rogan just had an article that came out. It was trending on Twitter. It was how the Spotify thing, it was about how Spotify basically kind of cut his legs from under him. He took the money and ran.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of fucked his popularity,
Mm-hmm.
chopped him down in his height. He took the check, and I think he's interesting, and I still listen to his podcast, and I love him. I don't feel that way, but I
Mm-hmm.
could see how people can feel that way, that he took the money over the YouTube kind of favored crowd.
Was this an op-ed piece, or was this like an analyst going into it?
It was an analyst going into it.
Okay, because you posted a recent article, which I'd love to bring up, and I forgot to bring it up with Carrie because we just had too many clips to get to, about the analyst talking about how stations would kind of pray for Howard to fail sometimes because if he met these bonuses, they don't know that the ad revenue that they would have made would have offset the cost of giving him these fucking huge payouts for meeting ratings books like that he would get, so that they would hire him, like they would syndicate him, but hope he wouldn't make the numbers that he was hoping to make, so that they could just get rid of him.
Right.
Which was fascinating to me because this would have been, I guess, early 2000s. Like, so basically he was a big white elephant for a lot of stations that maybe couldn't afford him, but went for it anyway, but really shouldn't have.
Yes.
So at any rate, I got to go. Maybe we'll go through that article, or just me and you, do like a minisode for that one, because on a financial level, that's why Carrie and
I really like the financials of this.
Right. And so Carrie and I, like when we got further into it, I realized we should make this a standalone Sunday episode. I thought it was only going to be like an hour, maybe hour 20 minutes, and we'll release it during the week. I go, no, this is a good enough for a standalone episode. Really, why should Stern put any effort into his show when he's been rewarded for hardly working? The less he puts into the show, the more he treats his paying audience with contempt, the more money he makes. No wonder he won't leave his bunker. Which is a good point. I mean, but the problem is, so the fallacy is she believes, or she may not, but she's writing as if she's not quite sure. And most people think he's making this much money, like shitloads of money. Carrie and I both contend that he's not making much money at all.
He still shouldn't have been re-signed.
No, absolutely not. It's certainly not at the expense of Jason Ellis and Jenny McCarthy and Covino and Rich and all these other people that fucking got shit canned. All of that said, one of the most perplexing decisions to fans of late is the unexplained dropping of the show's most popular segment, historically airing last, the news, with sidekick Robin Quivers going through the day's headlines while Stern riffed extemporaneously. The news cost nothing to produce, was a must listen, and usually guaranteed him at least one unpredictable hot take from Stern, earning him a spot in the news cycle. Yet in quarantine, the most newsworthy year in recent memory, this segment has completely disappeared with zero explanation. There may be no greater FU to his longtime fan base. Even that is too much work.
It's not work. It's the fact that he has become such a fucking pussy cuck that he won't even put out an opinion that's his own.
Do you think it's that, or do you think it's more? Do you think it's also?
Yes,
Well,
of course that's it.
It's all about
it's
me.
too dangerous. It's too dangerous. He won't put out anything controversial. So if it's about the news, he's not going to go against the grain. And Robin, which he was putting out, that was the news, was so boring to him that he just stopped caring.
Yeah, he did. But also, do you think at some point it was a sit down between him and Marcy where she said, "Look, you can't comment on this anymore," or do you think it was a calculated thing from him saying, "Look, I don't give a fuck anymore, and also I don't want to get the controversial shit out there"?
So I thought about this. It was a degradation of Robin's news stories became so obvious that she didn't read them beforehand, and they were so fucked up.
Oh, they were awful.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
It was a spelling bee of the most faulty proportions.
Yeah, it was.
Ridiculous. I mean, stats that were wrong. It was robinswrong.com 24/7.
Yeah. To the point where you could make an episode based on her fuck ups from one day. Like one thing could be an hour podcast.
A fire of
it's dead air.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota, North Carolina,
Minnetonka,
killed. I mean,
mutilated,
and well,
some people died.
And
this vague book.
It was just so it was terrible.
Yeah.
So I understand that, like, her obvious terrible participation in that really, probably helped him along with getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But I also think it was the fact he didn't want to offer a controversial opinion on anything anymore. And not even controversial. The fact that his controversial opinions only came because they provided him ratings, because they provided him that narcissistic supply, which he wasn't getting anymore from that. So it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, not only how bad she was reading them, but he wouldn't respond to a lot of things. He just let her drone on, and people were like, well, what's the fucking point of the news if Artie is not there to riff, or Gilbert isn't in to riff on it, or some guest comedian isn't in, or Howard doesn't comment? There's no give and take.
We also have to remember, at the end of that, she also started realizing that the news was, this is Robin's time to shine.
Yeah.
Robin started taking it as, this is my time to get out what I want to say. And come hell or high water, I don't give a shit. You're going to listen to what I have to say, and you're going to listen.
It gets better, by the way, guys. The self-proclaimed king of all media has, without seeming to realize it, given a masterclass in how to lose an entirely captive audience. That's great. Especially since, say, Facebook does have a lot of those videos, those ads that come up, like, David Mamet's giving a masterclass in, directing, and then Neil Gaiman is going to do a masterclass on writing.
What's her face from Vogue, Anna Wintour, is going to give you fuck you.
Yeah.
I think if anything, COVID and these last Oscar ratings just gave the biggest middle finger to that whole institution of elitist, I'm better than you. You're not.
This is one of the best parts of the article. It's all good, but this is really where it gets good. SiriusXM doesn't release ratings, but as far back as 2013, Stern knew he was in trouble. He called a crisis meeting, thankfully taped and leaked by a disgruntled employee, and in brackets, you can watch it on YouTube, and they provide a link. This is Howard Stern as Norman Desmond, blaming everyone else for his decline. So they give the link. They give two links for it, actually, just in case. Here he is standing alone on a stage, his beleaguered staff sitting below. You know what? He begins. If this show isn't here in 3 years, you don't have a fucking job. I'm pissed. He was just getting started. Why, Stern asked, can he get Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt? Hell, even Neil Young to appear on his show. It's bugging the shit out of me, he said. Neil Young shouldn't be able to shit without hearing someone talking about me. A PowerPoint of favored guests who Stern fawns over to a disgusting degree on air turned into a verbal assault against almost every single one.
And remember, everyone,
Yeah.
this PowerPoint was ushered in as a vision,
Yeah.
a positive vision
Mhm.
for the new Howard Stern show. It was ushered in as, the namaste of the new Howard Stern show. Like, we're going to bring in all these new people. This is going to be the new second coming of this. We're going to turn a corner. Everyone, we're going to be all on the same page in love and light. And fuck Facebook.
Yeah. The it keeps going. Whitney Cummings was doing jack shit when we found her. She was going nowhere fast, Stern said. Adam Levine owes us, man. No one was looking for him before The Voice.
Yeah.
And David Letterman, I've done his show probably 27 fucking times, and he's only been on our show twice.
Shows how much he cares about you.
Exactly. So maybe Stern should have asked himself why he, unlike some others in show business, doesn't beget loyalty. Nah, he kept on blaming the overworked, underappreciated, and abused staff who he added looked like unwashed slobs.
This is exactly, you know what? I didn't even realize this. Maureen got my point from before.
Yep.
This is evolved. She is exactly saying what I said. Evolved would be to credit the people who made your show.
Yep.
Not the celebrities who you flippantly trash and then praise, trash and then praise.
Yeah.
But you have no real association with, just some surface level nonsense and slob hobnobbing. You fucking fruit.
They wrote this, they transcribed this perfectly, and they added they italicized it where exactly it was necessary, and made it large print, whatever, uppercase. We look like we have homeless people working here, Stern said. Publicists, managers, celebrities go, oh, this show is so gross. Look at them. They look like bums. They don't know what they're doing. You've just blown it for me. Go the fuck home and get dressed.
It's not. They all came on the show in the 90s when it was less than that, when you had nobody working for you, when it was a radio station with other shows, when it was basically like an attic.
Yep. After all, Stern said, the Howard Stern Show is maybe the coolest, hippest place to work on the planet. When I read
people
that,
say
it's tough.
hippest.
Yeah. If even if Stern didn't know the name of that rock star who could maybe convince Eddie Vedder to appear, the late Chris Cornell, or that Brad Pitt isn't from Kansas, he's from Missouri, or that celebrity guests had been left to linger in the lobby, no show escort before giving up and going home, John Bon Jovi twice.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
Jeremy spoke. Underpinning all this rage was, Stern admitted, the company's overall disdain for his show. If you guys revisit our fucking summit breakdown, which again was a huge albatross, but once we got done with it, we realized, okay, this is maybe our Citizen Kane of this. It's not. No one's going to do better than this summit breakdown. They just won't. And
no, they could try it twice and fail.
Yeah, the remastered version. Yeah, that's because the sound was the issue, right? Not the cackling cocksucker.
So bad.
Exactly. Sirius has treated us in a very odd way, Stern said. We're going to fix that. I've heard Sirius XM president CCO, or I think about COO, Scott Greenstein say, "Oh, why would we put Artist X on your show? What are you, fucking high? You put them on our show because we're the only channel anyone's listening to. Not anymore." Well, bravo.
Do you want to know? I love. It's so purposeful how she starts in one purposeful sentence on its own, and she ends in one purposeful statement on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's so poignant. I love it.
It's perfection, and so this is from the 28th. Present day, right? The New York Post.
I also love how she sent it at 6 a.m. because that's when he used to start.
Yes, and she knew that. She had to know that.
She did know that.
Yeah. So this is people responding to it, and I'll read some of the letters. Maureen Callahan hit every nail on the head. She underscored the reason I and others in their 50s have stopped listening to or even caring for Howard Stern, as he is no longer a must-listen. The predictable parent imitations are stale. Long gone are the calling out of celebrity hypocrisy, where Howard touched on what we were all thinking, making him more relatable. I also feel Robin Quiver's anger contributes to their dabbling in polarizing political views. Stern is a brand, a label, one that used to have an edge but now teeters over it and has pushed many longtime listeners like myself into a pool of apathy in recent years. Great read. Callahan always delivers something Howard used to do, by Steve Pothos from Medford. Yep.
I do agree with that. Robin has been oddly angry.
Yeah.
Like, you just never even know where her anger is going to derive from. But on some topics, it's like, okay.
Yeah. It manifests itself in times that seem incongruous, with the exception of the more recent, what was her name? Simona Dinnerstein thing, where that was clearly like mandated by a sit down with Simone. Yeah. So it wasn't organic, really. The next person from Lorenzo Magnifico, which I'm sure is a bullshit name, but it sounds great. I gave Callahan a hard time when she bashed Rochester, but I have to compliment her on her Howard Stern article. The other day, as I listened to the show, or part of it, which was all I could take, I kept thinking how lame and sad the show is now. Her article really hit every point on the head. Next person. I wanted to congratulate Callahan on an awesome article about Stern. Sometimes it's tough being on the listening end of the speakers when he continually disparages, insults, and dismisses his audience. Yes, I'm a fan, but I definitely realize I'm not a fan of who he is now, rather who he was. It's almost insulting that he gets paid the amount of money he does for the product he's putting out. Howard has become the old uncle you just let babble on. You kind of let babble on in the corner. He is literally just a link to yesteryear, and I believe Sirius pays more for that than for the content of the show. He has gone from the world's greatest showman to the world's greatest fraudster. He is receiving an obnoxious amount of money to fund his Hamptons bunker and berate the common folk. George Briggs from Middlesex, New Jersey.
Wow.
Yep.
You know, I was at my sister's house, and when I came in, they were listening. There was some show on. I think it's called the Five or something. And there was this guy named, I think his name is Jesse Waters, and he was talking, and he said there's like 5 reporters or something, they talk every day. And he goes, I was listening to Howard Stern, I listen every day. And he said something like he was talking to a doctor, Agus, and even the doctor was telling him, no, you don't need to wear a mask outside, and he still wants to stay inside. People are insane. They don't want to hear it. Like, he was just trying to make the point of, like, he's not listening.
Yeah.
He's gone. Yeah. So he was trying to make the point that he's lost it, and he wants to stay in his, but he was talking about it. And of course it caught my attention because it was about him.
Yeah.
Not that I watched the show, but I was like, oh, he's crazy. Like, he literally, a doctor was on the show, and I remember because I was listening to the show, and I was like, this guy, there's a doctor telling you your wife is wrong. She can breathe outside when she's on a walk. She's holding her breath.
Darwin's theory proven once again.
Holy shit.
Yeah. This next person writes down, thank you for the article on Howard. I thought I was the only one who felt this way. He is a bitter old man who is so New York centric that he has absolute disdain for people like me in rural America, which, by the way, guys, we do not. I don't care where you guys come from that you listen to us. And in fact, I got an email from a fan in, guess where? Slovenia, of all places.
Really?
I'm not joking. This person, I won't give his name unless he gives me permission in the future. He emailed me, and I guess because now I put out my email for the PayPal thing on the YouTube videos, that a couple people.
That's so great.
Yeah, and I was curious. I said, how? No offense, but what reason would you have to listen to Howard Stern in Eastern Europe, and what opportunity? And he said basically he had spent time in the States when, or late 90s, I suppose. And when he went back to Slovenia, he had people, friends at the time, who sent him tapes of the Stern Show because
Wow.
he became a fan then. And anyways, and there's a couple other people that have sent me emails basically saying love the podcast. So I really didn't think that would come of that, but thank you guys. And our fans are from all over. They really, really are.
They are. We
and
have
I'm
people from
yeah.
Australia, Britain.
Yeah, different parts of the UK. Certainly Canada and the United States are the mainstays, but Jesus Christ, what we get people living everywhere. So his tirades there about masks are tedious, and the continued belief in the New York Times as gospel is boring. He has a big contract. He doesn't mind being holed up, and he has a huge home in the Hamptons. Good for him, but bad for the show. Thanks for the column. It's the keeper. Jim Folger, Howard County, Mississippi. I was going to say Mississauga, just because when I see the acronym, when I see the abbreviation, I'm thinking Toronto. Yeah, go ahead.
I like how people always have to say like, "Oh, rural America." I'm from rural America. I live in a rural town. That's it's not a bad thing. It's, I feel like people always have to preface that like it's a good thing. You don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, and there's okay. I'm going to read only one more, guys, and then we'll wrap this one up. Callahan's column regarding Howard Stern was spot on. I started listening when he came to WNBC and followed his journey through the various stations until he landed at Sirius. He was, way back when, unique, funny, outspoken, and very entertaining, especially if you had a lengthy commute. But he has been phoning it in for years. I stopped listening more than 10 years ago because the attributes that made his show an appealing choice were gone. Instead, we got his morning ego exercise on the long list of unfunny idiots that make up his entourage. Thanks for pointing out what most radio listeners have known for a while. It's nice to see in a public forum like the Post. Bob McTurnan, Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, do two more.
There's only one more, I believe, so far. I mean, it doesn't mean that more aren't coming in and they're processing them at the Post, but we haven't seen them yet. This is the last one. Callahan is so right about Stern. I stopped listening to his show in May of last year after 30 years of tuning in. I found myself turning the show off frequently because it was just so bad. It was no longer funny or entertaining in any way. Just 3 hours of talking about President Donald Trump and the coronavirus. I could turn on any cable news show and hear that. It wasn't what I listened to his show to hear. He also became extremely nasty towards the listeners. When he said that he wanted Trump voters to die, I turned off the show for good. He should end the show and retire. Ryan Such, Danbury, Connecticut. Now, this is one thing that I don't think we've stressed enough in the course of our podcast life. He was never at his most boring than when he was talking about politics. You and I both agree, and we think most people would.
I feel like if you're going to do that, if you're going to go that route, go that route. But if you're going to give some haphazard answer with no source of knowledge or gumption behind it, with no source of knowledge or resource behind it, and you're not going to back it with everything that you have, you're a coward, you're embarrassing, and you're just boring. It's incredibly childish, stupid, naive, and I don't know. Like, I personally just hated everything he had to say about it just because it said nothing. It said nothing.
Well, he was completely misinformed or uninformed. He was just like, it was the like a third grader's view of politics.
It was a popularity contest.
Yeah, but not only that.
For him.
Well, the other thing was, let's face it, I wanted to hear about pop culture when I listened to Stern. I wanted to hear interviews. I didn't care if he had guys like Arlen Specter on, which that's fascinating. Like, interviews, different beast altogether. If they happen to be political guys, odd place for them to be, but it's better than his take on almost anything political.
So I liked political figures, like if they were disgraced political figures, or if there was something that happened politically and they came on the show, say, after the fact,
sure, then
I wouldn't mind. Right. You know what I'm saying? But in the midst of what was happening at the time, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
It's the same exact reason why we chose not to make politics a staple of our show, because number one, you could get it just about any fucking where, and there's just too much of it out there. We made that a mandate early on, even though there might be times where we do want to talk about something political, but we realized, number one, we're not polarizing our audience. Number two, I didn't go to school to study. I didn't study politics really in school. It's just like the views of I'm a random my knowledge is about as average as just
our
like
knowledge.
else.
Our knowledge is saturated in stern. This is what we're doing.
Right, we're focusing on. We're trying to have laser focus on stuff. So if I make an SCTV reference, okay, fine. I'm trying to go for the cheap.
Yeah,
cheap laugh.
I watched Happy Gilmore 11 times in one day when I was 11.
Right.
That's my foray.
Right. I'm not William F. Buckley or James Carville. I'm not Gore Vidal trying to sway you with my intellect. But either way, I thought
my 1994 vision of the new Republican Party contract.
Exactly.
Not at all.
Well, anyway, guys, please tune in on Sunday night. We're going to have 15 Foundation Part 5. And following week, we are going to have our special Marbles episode with Carrie, the return of Carrie, our lawyer from out west. And following that, we are going to have on the return of Bob D, Chicago Bob. We've got a great episode on NPD.
Super heavy. I really realized the NPD episodes, the longer we kind of get on this, the more we all know. I feel like it gets heavier in our souls. Like we just want to really parse it through, and it becomes very heavy. It becomes heavy. It's also
illuminating. I can't tell you the number of people that still go on about like I can't, listening to you guys talk about NPD, and we don't profess to be experts any more than Bob does. But doing enough cursory reading, you get to learn, and it's just like Roddy Piper and They Live when you puts on the glasses and sees the aliens, through their human disguise. You can't unsee people when you learn the isms of NPD, of whether it's covert or overt or what have you. And so that particular episode that we've got coming up is super long, guys. I apologize for that if too long is not too long for you guys, but it's manageable. It's no longer than our longest episode. Now, I'll say that much. But we had a lot of fun with it. So thank you to Bob D and Carrie for coming back in the fold. And we've got some new voices on their way as soon as they get their lives squared away as well. And we got a special new format coming soon in May, and a few more interviews along the way. So stay tuned, guys. We love yous.
We love you.
Take care.
Okay? And I'm going to fly out there next week, and I'm going to straighten your ass out. And I'm going to make sure that you really get it. I'm going to make sure that you know what a rude, thoughtless little pig you really are. Do you understand? You're a rude, thoughtless pig. So be ready on Friday the 20th, because I'm coming out there. I'm going to tell you this, then I'm going to turn around, I'm going to fly right back home. You are a rude, thoughtless pig.
All right.